she did too. Oh why can't well, I see trees of green and red roses too. I watch them bloom for me and you, and I think to myself, what a wonderful world. Well, I see skies of blue and I see clouds of white and the brightness of day. I like the dark and I think to myself, what a wonderful world. The colors of the rainbow, so pretty in the sky, are also on the faces of people passing by. See friends shaking hands, singing, how do you do? They really say, I love you. I hear babies cry and I watch them grow. They'll learn much more than we'll know, and I think to myself, what a wonderful world. Someday I wish upon a star, wake up with the clouds all far behind me, where trouble melts like a lemon drops high above the chimney top. That's where you find me, oh, somewhere over the rainbow, way up high. And the dreams that you dare to, why, oh why can't I found a love for me, darling, just dive right in, follow my lead. I found a girl, beautiful and sweet. I never knew you were the someone waiting for me. 'Cause we were just kids when we fell in love, not knowing what it was. I will not give you up this time, darling, just kiss me slow. Your heart is all I own, and in your eyes you're holding mine. Baby, I'm dancing in the dark, you between my arms, barefoot on the grass, listening to our favorite song. When you said you looked a mess, I whispered underneath my breath that you heard it. Darling, you look perfect tonight. Well, I found a woman stronger than anyone I know. She shares my dreams. I hope that someday I'll share her home. I found a love just my secrets, to carry love, to carry children of our own. We are still kids, but we're so in love, fighting against all odds. I know we'll be alright this time. Darling, just hold my hand. Be my girl, be your man. I see my future in your eyes. Baby, I'm dancing in the dark with you between my arms, barefoot on the grass, listening to our favorite song. When I saw you in that dress, looking so beautiful, I don't deserve this. Darling, you look perfect tonight. Baby, I'm dancing in the dark, you between my arms, barefoot on the grass, or listening to our favorite song. I have faith in what I see. I know I have met an angel in person. She looks perfect. I don't deserve this. You look perfect tonight. When the night has come and the land is dark and the moon is the only light we'll see. No, I won't be afraid. Oh, I won't be afraid. Just as long as you stand by me. So darling, darling, stand by me. Oh, stand by me. Oh, stand by me. Stand by me. If the sky that we look upon should tumble and fall, or the mountain should crumble the sea, I won't cry, I won't cry, no, I won't shed a tear. Just as long as you stand by me. And darling, darling, stand by me. Oh, stand by me. Oh, stand now. Stand by me. Stand by me. Darling, stand by me. Oh, stand by me. Oh, stand now. quiet, lonely place. Walls of insincerity, shifting eyes and vacancy, vanished when I saw your face. All I can say is it was enchanting to meet you. Your eyes whispered, have we met? Across the room, your silhouette starts to make its way to me. The playful conversation starts, counter all your quick remarks like passing notes in secrecy. And it was enchanting to meet you. All I can say is I was enchanted to meet you. This night is sparkling, don't you let it go. I'm wonderstruck, rushing all the way home. I've spent forever wondering if you knew I was enchanted to meet you. Lingering question kept me up 2 a.m. Who do you love? I wonder till I'm wide awake. And now I'm pacing back and forth, wishing you were at my door. I'd open up and you would say, hey, it was enchanting to meet you. All I know is I was enchanted to meet you. This night is sparkling, don't you let it go. I'm wonderstruck, rushing all the way home. I've spent forever wondering if you knew. This night is flawless, don't you let it go. I'm wonderstruck, dancing around all alone. I've spent forever wondering if you knew I was enchanted to meet you. This was the very first page, not where the story ended. My thoughts will echo your name until I see you again. These are the words I held back as I was leaving too soon. I was enchanted to meet you. Please don't leave your song. Please don't This night is sparkling, don't you let it go. I'm wonderstruck, rushing all the way home. I've spent forever wondering if you knew. This night is flawless, don't you let it go. I'm wonderstruck, No New Year's Day to celebrate. No chocolate covered candy hearts to give away. No first of spring. No song to sing. In fact, it's just another ordinary day. No April rain, no flowers bloom, no wedding Saturday within the month of June. But what it is something true, made up of these three words that I must say to you. I just called to say I love you. I just called to say how much I care. I just called to say I love you. And I mean it from the bottom of my heart. No summer's high, no warm July, no harvest moon to light one tender August night, no autumn breeze, no falling leaves, not even time for birds to fly to southern sky, no Libra sun, no Halloween, no giving thanks from the bottom of my heart. Oh, my heart. Oh, my heart. I just called to say I love you. I just called to say how much I care. I just called to say I love you. And I mean from the bottom of my heart. Oh, my
Test. Mic test. Mic test. Mic test.
Without you, so very lovely.
Hello, everybody. Can you hear me okay? Yep. So I'm Valery Shafiro. I'm the acting chair of the Department of Communication Disorders and Sciences. Thank you all for coming. I would like to welcome you all on this very bittersweet occasion. Very bitter because the pain of this tragic loss is still very raw, but also very sweet because we get to see old friends, and we get to celebrate the beautiful life that Emily Wang led and her contributions. So I will speak a little bit about her professional life. I know less about her, I know some about her personal life, but, I'll only speak about her professional life a little bit because we all know about Emily from somewhat different sides. And then we'll have a chance to hear others speak. Uh, the, uh, the story goes like this. I came for an interview to Rush 20 years ago, a little over 20 years ago, and spoke with Emily. And she said, oh, we got to put you on the waiting list for LEDs, for daycare. My wife was pregnant. and this was an interview. I didn't have a job yet. I said, sure, sure. Lo and behold, I came and my son had a spot at LEDs, which is Rush Daycare. So this is just how, everybody knows that this is how Emily operated. But she came here 9 years earlier. She came to Rush in 1995. And it was kind of a long road to get here. She's originally from China, of course. And she studied English language and literature in China. We have a beautiful bouquet from one of the people from China, who studied with her back in China, who sent the flowers. So maybe we'll hear a little bit about that. But then in the 80s, in late 80s, she came to England and was in London and actually studied English, teaching English as a second language. Right, so she was a second language. I don't know if she taught English as a second language, but she got the certificate. And soon afterwards, she came to the United States and was in Connecticut and started working at Haskins Laboratories, which was the powerhouse of speech science research at the time. Still is, but the bulk of the very well-known work happened around that time. And she worked with Ignatius Medingly, which was one of the great theoreticians of speech science, motor speech, speech theory. So she studied linguistics. Her PhD eventually was from linguistics, but along this path, she also received a master's degree in speech-language pathology. Because she was studying, was interested in how articulators move, she applied this to her practice and became an expert in movement disorders, in articulatory, in speech articulation. So then rewind in 95, she completes her dissertation and takes a long drive to Chicago that Adam can tell you more about, I won't. And she comes here and she thinks maybe this is not for me, maybe this is just for a little bit, but stays here, and she spent 29 years at Rush. She worked very closely with the movement disorders. Her home department was communication disorders, but she worked very closely with movement disorders, with ENT, and she always would tell stories. She worked with on studies of deep brain stimulation, and was just a wonderful teacher practitioner, which is the model that we kind of prize here at Rush, right? Somebody who teaches and somebody who practices what they teach. She, as an educator, she taught 15 courses, and anybody who is in the academia can appreciate how many courses that new 15 different courses is a lot. She supervised many master's theses. She was on PhD committees. And also she was selected the Hooter 7 times. So this is where students anonymously select who of the faculty is going to be the Hooter. And so 7 times students selected her to be the Hooter who would award them their degrees during the ceremony. She had numerous publications, a couple of dozen, and she had many presentations, professional meetings. She received grants from NIH, from Michael J. Fox Foundation. She worked in many patient organizations, Huntington disease, Parkinson's disease, Spanish speakers with Parkinson's disease. She led all these patient initiatives. And as a member of Movement Disorder Society, she was the director of Train the Trainer program. She was very proud of that, the Pan American Train the Trainer program that she went to. So, of course, 6 years before her retirement, she became the department chair. And it's not that the department wasn't doing well, but during her time, there were quite a few things that she's accomplished. One of them was accreditation, national accreditation. So if you know how academic clinical education works, that's a big deal to go through. A lot of pieces have to go into that. A lot of information has to be coordinated. This takes over a year. It's a long process. And she led that process, and we were fully accredited with no deficiencies noted, which is quite rare. So that was major accomplishments. Both programs in our department, speech language pathology and audiology, received good ranking, went up in ranking in the top 10 and top 30. But the total number of programs is different, so the rankings are still good in both, excellent in fact. And one of her major projects was the development of a SCOPE clinic. The SCOPE clinic is the Student Community Outreach Program of Excellence. That's what it stands for. And it's really is a very unique clinic because the services that are provided, the speech, language, and hearing services that it provides, are for people who have significant barriers to healthcare, right? Who cannot otherwise afford to go and see a practitioner, may not otherwise have access to it. And so this was her sort of conceptual brainchild, and she pushed through hard to make it happen. And Megan will tell, our faculty, Dr. Worthington will tell you more about that. So I will just mention that this was a major accomplishment. So the list can go on. And there are so many things to be grateful for all the contributions she made as to me, to us as a department, to programs, the college, the Rush University, the institution, and to her patients, her colleagues. So excellent, wonderful human being. And we're grateful, I'm personally grateful to have known her. Okay, thank you. So I pass it to Reverend Thomason to do an invocation.
Whoever you are and wherever you find yourself in your own journey of faith, I invite you to a moment of contemplation or memory as we gather this day. O gracious God, source of light and life, sustainer of hope, make us grateful for the gifts Emily Wang has given us. We gather together out of our need to mourn the death of your servant Emily, to honor her memory, to support each other, to be assured of your eternal presence. Even in the face of things we cannot understand, touch our hearts and minds with the sure knowledge of your love and care for Emily and her family. Be our strong rock and salvation today and for all the days to come. Amen. Creator of life, carrier of hope, make your presence known among us. Make us grateful for the gifts Emily has given each of us. Enable us to be brave in our remembering, honest in our sorrow, and open in love and compassion to each other. Help us to seek not so much an answer to our questions, but rather a new way of living in service to others. Help us to seek not so much an end to our sorrow, but rather the patience to mourn and to grieve. Enable us to remember with gratitude the life of Emily, whom we have loved. Send us your peace. Amen.
And now we have some time for people who wish to do so to share their memories. There's several people let me know they're coming, so we'll let them do it, and we'll to invite people who are in person first, and then we'll turn to Zoom. Several people couldn't make it because, as you know, some flights were canceled, unfortunately, in this. But thanks to Zoom, everybody can have their piece. Okay, so Judy Chen is.
Thank you. So first, I want to express my gratitude to the Department of Communication Disorder and Science for at the Rush University for providing us the opportunity to gather and honor the remarkable life of Dr. Emily Wang. I also wanted to extend my heartfelt thanks to Nia and Valerie for the arrangement and the support. My name is Judy Chen. I work for the U.S. Department of Agriculture in Maryland. I had the privilege meeting Emily in college at a time when we were both exploring future and discovering who we were meant to be. From the very beginning, it was clear Emily was someone special. She possessed a passion for learning and a unwavering determination to explore future, which positively impact everyone around her. So our paths continue to cross even after college when we both moved to the United States in different cities. Emily in Chicago, Illinois, myself in Maryland. Whenever Emily came to NIH, National Institute of Health, Maryland, and Washington, D.C. to attend a conference and a meeting, we managed to spend time together. Those moments were filled with joy, deep conversation, laughter, and a reaffirmation of bond we shared. Emily had the ability of making every encounter meaningful, leaving me feeling better, more hopeful, and more understood. One of the greatest passion Emily often shared with me was her research on the connection between the speech difficulty and Parkinson's disease. She dedicated much of her time on this important project with driven by a desire to make a change to the lives of those affected by diseases. She dedicated her time as a professor. She put her dedication as a professor was extraordinary. She poured her heart and soul into teaching, inspired many students to pursue for their future and strive for excellence. But beyond Emily's professional achievement, she was an incredible loving wife and mother. So her eye would light up whenever she talked about her husband Adam and her son Neil. She extremely beamed with joy when she shared the good news of Neil getting into medical school and dating a wonderful girl, Linda. So it was a moment of pure love, joy, and pride. So I'm sorry, I need a minute. So Emily's legacy is the one of kindness, passion, dedication, and unwavering love. So although she's not with us, but her spirit is live on in her husband and the son, as well as everyone who had the privilege knowing her. She taught us how to follow the page and dedicate ourselves to what we believe and love deeply. So, dear Emily, rest in peace and your spirit. We will miss you forever in our memory and heart. Thank you.
Julia Bowman. She couldn't. Is she on Zoom? She's on Zoom. Okay. She can speak? Is she on Zoom? Julia Martin, yeah. So, maybe if you can check with her, we'll move on. Just, or
Can you hear me?
okay.
I'm
Is
here.
this Julia? Okay, wonderful.
Yes.
Can you change this?
Okay. I'd like to. My dear friend Emily Wang is an amazing, brilliant, highly professional, loving lady. She welcomed me with open arms when I came to with to Rush for my job interview. She told me she loved my Southern accent. I was the only Southerner in the whole department. Emily even sat in on some of my classes, especially the ones on anatomy and physiology. And she gave me the greatest compliment that she learned more from me than any other class she went through during her doctoral program. So, wow. Then she became my best friend and even told me she felt like I was the sister she never had because we all know that her siblings were all brothers. She loved me so much that she named me godmother to her future son, Neil. She knew how much I had wanted children, but my time had passed. I used to go over to her house while Em was pregnant, and I'd talk to Nunu in her belly. I knew the baby's name I know he was going to be a boy whose formal name would be Neil, but his nickname was Nunu. So I spoke with Nunu many times about how excited we were about him going to be with us. Of course, Emily had me there at Neil's birth. And of course, the doctor handed Neil first to Emily, and he was very quiet, very good child, and then handed him to Adam, and he was still very quiet. But when Adam handed Nunu to me, and I said, Nunu, you're here. And he smiled. And Emily said, he knows your voice, and laughed. Emily helped me so much throughout my life. After I left Rush, I really missed her, but we talked all the time. And she even came down to see me in Tennessee. So she and Adam both came down to see me. And I've always stayed in contact with her because I loved her so much. And she even helped my husband when I had a viral encephalitis and nearly died. She told him what to tell the doctors. And then I had a stroke 5 years later, and she told him what to tell the doctors then. She's helped save my life. Emily is a lifesaver. I am still having a very hard time accepting that I will not see my M on earth anymore. But I know my M is dancing and singing with the angels in heaven. I love you, Emily.
Thank you, Julia. The next would be Virginia Curtis.
All right. Hello, everyone. Please bear with me. So I'm going to start with this book that I brought up. I did not bring it up here to teach anyone about motor speech disorders, but this book was shared to me by my current student. I have the opportunity of being a clinical supervisor for Rush speech pathology students. And this book was given to my current student by Dr. Wang. She had the opportunity of helping Dr. Wang clean out her office, and this was given to her. And the student shared it with me, and I thought she just brought it to show it to me, and she said, no, I want you to have it. And I think that willingness to share and that sharing with others what you know and giving to others is something that I really remember about Emily. Let me pull up what I wrote so I stop rambling, please. Sorry. So one of the first things that I think about the legacy of Dr. Wang is the love that she had for her students. If you're a former Dr. Wang student, which I know there are a few in my cohort here, and I know there are lots watching, it's taking class from Dr. Wang, you had to go along for the ride. Sometimes we would start here and end up over there, but she was always sharing such meaningful information. And that is what I will carry on with me as I continue my journey as a speech language pathologist, is providing the students with all the education they want, and maybe some that they don't want, but sharing that passion. Another thing that this kind of book represents to me is the importance of understanding a differential diagnosis, right? Looking at those salient speech features in order to help you advocate for your patients better of what they need, what they are struggling with. And so for me, advocating for my patients, advocating for myself, advocating for the profession, right? Doctors give us our Parkinson's patients sooner so we can help them with their loud voice, right? And help them with their swallowing. I think another amazing thing is just her willingness to help those who don't have access to all the resources, right? Encouraging students to research, Spanish speaking populations, opening up of scope. Dr. Wang and I had a few different conversations that we were meant to have in the weeks after her passing, but I do know that as students, we can all come together and share what she taught us and hopefully keep that legacy alive. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Virginia. Sonia? Where is Sonia? Sonia.
I signed up to talk, but I recruited some other people, so.
I'm here for moral support. Moral support.
So my relationship with Dr. Wang started with my relationship with Rush, which was 25 years ago. So yes, I was an infant when I came to visit which grad school I would eventually be at. At that time, she was the first person I met, so she is synonymous with Rush for me. And she highlighted, which we still highlight to this day, about this unique program that the faculty here hold 3 hats. We wear 3 hats. She kept repeating that over and over and over again. But we're clinicians, we're researchers, and we are teachers. Emily Wang exuded all 3 of those things, and she was a fierce friend to all. Sorry. So she exuded that. We know clinically she helped and impacted so many patients. As a researcher, she did some life-changing things which were amazing, and I was always in awe of that. And as a teacher, she was always giving and really wanted us to learn through her practical experience. But not only that, she cared about us as people as well. And so I had the fortunate opportunity to leave here with all the wonderful training from many of you that are in the audience, but then come back here as a colleague of Dr. Wang's some years later. But that same energy and enthusiasm and passion and tenacity and just compassion and connectedness with everyone still remained in all aspects. I want to share one story with you that we were in the old Sen building, if any of you remember that. She was in the lab, and I was walking by with my dance goes on, which gave great support this way, but not laterally. And so she had hurt her foot somehow. I don't remember exactly what, and I feel like she had crutches or something. And so she was sitting there, and I was just passing by, and I was like, "Oh, how are you doing? Why are you still here? You should go home. You need to rest your foot." And in that interaction, I tripped, and lost my balance and fell. And Emily's first reaction was to jump up and help me, and I was like, "No, no, no, no! You say you're not supposed to be on." But that's who she was. She was giving and giving and giving in so many different ways and all of those different aspects. And I don't know that she understood how much she gave to so many of us, whether it was her students, her collaborators, her colleagues, or her friends. She was generous with everything she gave, and she did everything wholeheartedly with enthusiasm and with this wit, the sense of wit. She was very direct and sometimes didn't have that filter, and she was hilarious. And I don't even know that she knew she was being hilarious, but it made for always good interactions. And recently I feel horrible that we had been exchanging messages, and there was multiple opportunities for us to meet. And we were supposed to meet at the ASHA convention in November, but she was presenting at the time I was presenting, so it didn't happen. And I said, "No problem, I'll come see you at your retirement." The retirement celebration happened, and I was sick, so I couldn't. I said, "No problem, you're retired, you're in the suburbs, we'll meet for lunch." And I really wanted to meet with her because within my family in the past recent time, we had a medical misdiagnosis related to movement disorders. And if it weren't for the training that I got from her, I would not have been able to tell my family, "No, everybody calm down." So we got a second opinion, third opinion, and it was definitely a misdiagnosis, but it was because of what she taught me to do, and my other professors here, but really what she taught me to do. And we still have that medical complexity going on, and I kept thinking to myself, "Oh, when I see her for lunch, I'm gonna really pick her brain because she's brilliant. And I know that she'll have some sort of treatment, some sort of, person, some sort of research that I should go check out." And I had been thinking about it for so long, and then the day I said it out loud to my family, the next day is when I got this tragic news. So I'm missing her brilliance, but I know that her legacy lives on. And as excited as she was with all of her professional accolades and everything that she was doing and all of the impact she was making in different ways, she was never more proud than when she spoke of Neil. And that legacy of excellence, I know from whatever I've heard, and Neil, you might not know all of her students or colleagues or collaborators, but we all know you. We all remember you and your mom chasing you around at Dr. Peach and Dr. McCarthy's house when we were students. And she always was, you were her pride. And I know from whatever I learned that you will carry on her legacy of excellence. So we are very, very fortunate to have been impacted by her.
Thank you, Sonia. We now have several colleagues of Emily from movement disorders who will say, but first we'll start with Leo. Is Leo? Yeah.
Well, good afternoon. It's hard to keep it completely dry, even though this is a celebration. So I heard already some wonderful things that made me recognize Emily the way I had known her. My name is Leo Verhagen, and I just want to say a few words about Emily because I've worked with her for so many years. I'm currently at Northwestern, but until 2 years ago, I was at Rush in the Parkinson's disease and movement disorder group. And throughout those 23 years at Rush, I had the fortune to work with Emily very closely on numerous clinical, research, educational projects. As you may know, most Parkinson patients have difficulty with speech and with swallowing. And our entire section was really blessed that the field of motor speech disorders and neurodegenerative disorders was exactly what Emily loved and was interested in. So while she worked with many colleagues in our group, I may have been the most fortunate, as Emily took a deep interest in deep brain stimulation, a treatment program that I started in the early 2000s. And patients who undergo deep brain stimulation are oftentimes the most advanced patients, and therefore they will have speech and swallowing difficulties. And on top of that, after the procedure, sometimes people's speech gets even a little bit worse. So there was plenty of reason for us to work together. And we collaborated on many projects, most of which she initiated with her enthusiasm and very innovative ideas. This has resulted in many publications, grants, invited lectures, research presentations, as her curriculum vitae shows. Just the two of us already have published 10 papers together and probably about 20 or 30 abstracts submitted. And I must say she was a driving force for most of those. Her persistence, resourcefulness, innovative thinking enabled her to obtain funding for many of her projects, some of which expanded beyond speech and involved, for instance, freezing of gait. So just the halting gait that patients with Parkinson's disease sometimes have. It was far out of her field, but she nonetheless thought that she could come up with a solution. So we went to the gait lab and we said, okay, if we put sensors in the shoe, then perhaps we can stimulate after we get a sensor signal. I think we got a patent on that, actually. I don't think it ever worked, but we got a patent. As far as education is concerned, she's been really an educational force, and many of you know that even from more personal experience than myself. I've noticed and I've experienced a large number of students who chose to get a master's degree under her mentorship, as I was honored to be invited to sit on many of the thesis committees and experienced firsthand the wonderful one-on-one interaction between a mentee and mentor that she brought to all these students. And as you already heard, she had many graduating classes elect her as a Hooter over the years, which is a particular honor, just indicating how much she was appreciated by her students. At the extramural level, in addition to her many educational courses at national and international conferences that we already mentioned, she recently had been named co-director of the Train-the-Trainer program. And that's kind of a prestigious program at the International Parkinson's Disease and Movement Disorder Society, where Emily was recognized as an international expert on speech in patients with Parkinson's disease. She organized many interactions between her students and our patients in her free time, if it was any free time. She would come to support group meetings and would give and bring students, and they would do speech and swallow evaluations right then and there for these people, which was always much appreciated. Those were the most successful support group meetings. She would do hearing screenings, swallowing evaluations, and some of those indeed were all pro bono, just like the pro bono scope program that she started here, which was basically an interaction of students and patients from the community who otherwise might not have gotten care. And they came together to learn for the students, but also for the patients to be treated. So a wonderful concept that she spearheaded. And perhaps the most extraordinary experience was when I had the privilege to be invited by Emily to go on a work trip to Sun Yat-sen University in Guangzhou, China, in 2011, with several of her colleagues. I saw Patty and Richard in the back there who were there. I don't know why I was there, but I was invited to come along. We visited an enormous rehabilitation hospital, and all of us gave lectures and we had meetings. And the interesting part was they had a rehab hospital, but I think they were not evolved yet to the point as we are here, in the sense that everything was PT, and there were no separate divisions of speech pathology or audiology. And that was what Emily tried to bring to them. All of that was great. But what of course stood out the most was the royal treatment that Emily and our local co-hosts provided for us. For many of us, it was the first time in China. And this included some wonderful gastronomic experiences. I remember a local wine product. I don't know if it was made from grapes or what it was, but it was supposed to make us all giggly and tipsy. And Richard, you'll remember that we stood strong. We defied expectations, and that was a wonderful evening. And I will never forget the exquisite chicken feet that we had for lunch, which has convinced me forever that feet are for walking and not for eating. And finally, on a more personal note, you've heard this many times already throughout our interaction over more than 2 decennia. Emily never failed to update me on her son, Neil's well-being. As a child, you really never know how proud parents are of you, because they don't tell you that, otherwise you get spoiled. So, but I can tell you how happy and proud she was every time she was speaking about Neil. Whether it was because of his accolades in I think it was math during school, or his computer science talents, or because of him going into the medical field, or because of him being a competitive ballroom dancer with his now wife. And I'm just so happy that Emily was able to witness all these accomplishments. And while, of course, she should have been able to witness many more, I expect that her intellectual curiosity, her drive, her perseverance, and her innovative out-of-the-box thinking will be in your DNA. And she will be with you on your journey through life. Thank you.
Thank you for that. Now we have several colleagues from neurology and movement disorder section. Deborah, floor is yours.
So my name is Dr. Deborah Hall. I'm a movement disorder neurologist. We see a lot of Parkinson's disease patients in our practice. And this is Dr. Brandon Barton and Dr. Alana Kirby. So you already heard from Dr. Verhagen, who did spend quite a bit of time working with Emily. But we have an additional 15 faculty in our group who also had the opportunity to work with her, to share patients with her, and to do projects with her. And I wanted to represent them as well today and give you some of their quotes as we reflect on what she has done here. Our group has around 5,000 Parkinson's patients that we see and follow. And not only did Emily interact individually with many of those patients, but she also helped with Dr. Verhagen develop a lot of treatment for patients that have been passed on to other speech therapists who see our patients and the faculty and providers who see those patients now in the clinic. Her legacy in doing this will continue, and it will continue as we have more patients diagnosed and seen in our practice. And it's very important to know that that legacy continues, not only in the literature with the papers she's published, but in what we do day to day to try to help our patients who have speech disorders. I just wanted to read to you a few of the quotes that I got from the faculty in regards to Emily. Emily was an energetic and enthusiastic research collaborator. She was also an excellent clinician and had a lasting impact on many of my own patients. Another faculty member just described her with adjectives that she was passionate, determined, unstoppable, and empathetic. Another faculty member told me that Emily brought her her child's first toy, and the toy, of course, was an educational toy to help her child develop language. And that faculty member also wanted it known that she was so content with her life in the last few months and that she had actually given this doctor a book on how to retire. And she was very proud of this. They had spent some time together in February, and she was very proud, and she actually showed me the book as well. Not that I'm retiring. So I wanted to turn the mic over to Dr. Barton and Dr. Kirby.
All right, thanks. I just wanted to share that the last time I saw Emily, I was in Colombia, South America, where she went to the meeting for the Pan American section there. And I just wanted to share with one of the fellows that was in training that came out of the lecture that she gave there, which I think may have been her last lecture, told me that it was the most amazing lecture he'd ever heard on the topic, and he was very inspired by it. So I think that just goes to show that's just the tip of the iceberg of what she did in terms of the influence that she had on all of the trainees and the people that listened to her speak. So her influence goes way beyond what we can even measure as an educator. And she was a good friend as well. You couldn't help to get to know her as a person, even though you were just working with her. She just found a way to work her own personality into every interaction that you had with her. And I was very happy to work with her for nearly 15 years. Thank you.
I wanted to share a story about my first interaction with Dr. Wang. So I came here as a fellow, a movement disorders fellow, and we had this annual research day. And I was new, all these senior people, I have to introduce them all, and I have to keep the session on time. And so Dr. Wang gets up and she's talking about her research with Dr. Verhagen and DBS. And it's like, and here's a video, and here, and see here. Now you see what you're seeing here. And it's just the time is ticking and ticking and ticking, and it's still going on. And I'm supposed to keep the session on time, but it's hard to tell who loves videos of Parkinson's patients more, movement disorder specialists or Dr. Wang. And so I was like, what do I do? What do I do? Like, signaling. And so at the time I was very stressed about it, but afterwards I grew to understand that that's who she was, and that passion about science and medicine continued as I became a faculty member and I shared patients with her, and I was able to discuss, the complex case of a patient who had a stutter who then developed PSP, and she gave a lot of really great insights. She was always wonderful as a partner, as a care partner, a provider for my patients. They spoke very, very highly of her. And she, like Dr. Verhagen said, we gave this Parkinson's symposium. She came, she spoke, she got everybody up on their feet, and we all went out afterwards, and she was talking about all of her plans and how happy she was and what she was looking forward to, and we're so happy for her, and it's such a tragedy. But I think I would say it's so great to hear everybody saying the same thing. She was passionate, she was generous, she was joyful, she made our lives better to work with her in addition to being her student or being her patient. So thank you all.
I just want to add one final comment. At her retirement party, we were in the back of the room, she and I, and we were talking about how she was going to have a part-time clinic at Rush Oak Brook after her retirement. So like one of her many ideas, I don't even know if her family knew she was going to continue on, but I would say that it is really up to us to carry on her legacy. And for those of you in the room who are here or who are in the world of speech pathology, please come talk to us. Let's carry this legacy on. Let's keep working together and let's keep helping these Parkinson's patients. Thank you.
So we thank you for that. So we now turn to people who could not unfortunately make it in person, but would like to say a few words through Zoom. Jan, if you're there.
Yes, I'm here. Can you hear me?
Great.
Thank you. My flight was canceled this morning, so I could not make it to the room. And it is so hard to imagine that Emily is not here with us anymore. I can almost hear her energetic and passionate voice as if she's talking about work or family, especially Nell. So my name is Yan Helen Yu. I first met Emily in 2005 at the annual meeting of the Acoustic Society of America. She, Freddie, and I chatted for hours. But what I remember the most was a video clip of Neil dancing with his godmother at a wedding. Emily was such a proud mother, and we know that Emily is much more than just a proud mother. Emily was a pioneer. I was reading my chat history with Emily on my cell phone last night. During one conversation, Emily said, "I was the very first international student they ever had when I entered speech pathology. It was not easy." Emily is one of, if not the first Chinese speech language pathologist in the world. As many of you have mentioned that, as a pioneer in the Chinese SLP community, she has contributed so much. She made trips to Zhongshan University and Xiangya Medical Center to train the younger generations of speech language pathologists because SLP is a quite new profession in China, and there is a desperate need for training more SLPs. In 2021, Emily and I were both invited to give a talk at the annual SLP conference in China. I witnessed firsthand how popular her talk was and how eager people were to learn from her. She was the superstar at the conference, and her talk was rated as one of the most popular ones. She was tirelessly and patiently answering all the questions people asked her, even days after the conference. Emily is an inspirational educator. Just quoting two of her text messages to me. Quote one, "My job now is to push the next generation." Quote two, "I feel as teachers, we're the most unselfish people because we always want our students better than us." That is Dr. Emily Wang, the most selfless professor. Emily is a generous giver. She and Adam gave me advice on running a family and raising a boy. But what Emily and I chatted most about is work. After Emily found out that I took the role of the graduate director in our department, she periodically initiated some long conversations with me on her way home from work just to check on how I was doing as the program director. So I know how far her commute between work and home was. It varies from 41 minutes to 1 hour and 10 minutes. She shared her experience as the department chair with me. She shared her big view of career planning and small things like video clips that she made for the ASHA-CAA visit. Those video clips were made from narrated PowerPoint and with her cell phone, but they looked as if they were made by professionals with big money. Emily, thank you for sharing your wisdom with me and for squeezing time from your busy schedule to push me to do a better job. Emily talked a lot about the new clinic at Rush, the Scope Clinic, with full service, but pro bono. She said, I want to train clinicians with conscience. Emily wants to train the next generations to be like her, a generous professional with conscience. On February 10th of this year, Emily texted me saying that she and Adam were in Cartagena, Colombia, and she was the invited speaker at the PAS MDS. I replied saying, I thought that being an invited speaker and a retirement don't often go together. She laughed and continued talking about her plans to travel to South America and China for more work. Talking about Doctors Without Borders. Emily is the real doctor without borders. Emily's influence on the field goes beyond Rush University, as many of us have mentioned earlier. She shared her expertise wherever the need is the greatest. Some of you know Emily's first as Chi Wang. Emily's original first name is Chi. She changed it into Emily just because it was difficult for her patients to figure out how to pronounce QI. But do you know what does Qi mean in Chinese? It has 3 meanings: beautiful jade, preciously rare, and extraordinary. That is who Emily is, an extraordinary scholar with a beautiful jade-like soul. And Emily Chi Wang is preciously rare. Thank you, Emily, for being an inspiration to us all. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Now it's turn to Catherine Stewart. I'm not sure you're made. Okay, great.
Right. I think it'll be easier if I read. My name's Catherine Stewart. I'm a speech language pathologist with Emory Healthcare in Atlanta, Georgia. I graduated from Rush with my master's in 2014. Like everyone in my class, Dr. Wang was my professor for speech science, motor speech disorders, and fluency. And like only a few people in my class, she was my supervisor for one of my on-campus clinical practicums. And then like only one other person in my class, she was my thesis advisor. And as you can imagine, we got pretty close over those couple years. So that meant no hours were off limits for calls or texts, none at all. My family from out of state got to meet her at my defense. They still talk about her to this day. She took me and her other thesis student out for dim sum in Chinatown, and she and I roomed together for the ASHA convention when I presented the year I graduated. So these are all excellent reasons to give a eulogy for my mentor, but I'm gonna tell you why I boarded a plane at the busiest airport in the world on the day of the apocalyptic Microsoft outage. Also, while I'm 8 months pregnant and everything hurts, in order to do that. So I'm going to read an excerpt from the forward section of my master's thesis. And when I wrote this, I thought my time with Dr. Wang was coming to an end. So it says, before Dr. Emily Wang took me under her wing, I, armed with my Bachelor of Arts in the artsy subjects of linguistics and theater, would never have pegged myself as intelligent enough to take on a project so firmly within the realm of science. Thanks to her boundless ambition on my behalf and her unwavering confidence in me, for the first time in my life, I can call myself a scientist. Little did I know that thesis was just the beginning of the influence Dr. Wang would have upon me. So when I started my career as a medical SLP in a small outpatient hospital clinic, I knew I would think of Dr. Wang and continue to follow her advice when I work with Parkinson's patients, like I'd done for my thesis study and when I did clinic with her. So I did get LSVT Loud certified. I saw a bunch of those patients. Her influence did help me build closer relationships with those patients. And in fact, because of what she taught me, I was once the first person on a patient's team to even realize that he had Parkinson's. That was all because of Dr. Wang. But aside from this, something else started happening. So I started getting referrals for patients with really unusual voice and motor speech symptoms, sometimes from strokes or from other diagnosed neurological conditions, but occasionally we didn't really know what was going on with them. And I started to realize that you can't always predict someone's presentation based on their medical records or their MRIs. Sometimes you won't have any treatment ideas in your bag of tricks right away. So I started to understand why Dr. Wang showed us so many crazy, unusual case studies and videos of things like psychogenic stuttering, pseudo-foreign accents, and even mixed ataxic, hypokinetic, spastic dysarthria with possible characteristics of apraxia of speech, which is a real patient. And to my surprise, I actually felt like I could treat these patients. I knew what I was doing. And as many people have said, I've had some trouble kind of staying in my lane as she does. And I think that's only a good thing. So if you were ever fortunate enough to see Dr. Wang work with patients, you know that she wasn't really like a lesson planner. She would follow the patient's lead, listen to what they were saying as much as how they sounded saying it, and throw out every possible idea, no matter how strange it seemed at first, to help them communicate more effectively. More often than not, these patients would leave their very first session, their evaluation, sounding better than when they came in. So I didn't really put all that together when I was writing that foreword to my thesis 10 years ago. But now I realize that this was an apt description of Dr. Wang's clinical approach. It was science, but it was also an art. So her encyclopedic knowledge of research, anatomy, and physiology absolutely contributed to her brilliance. But what really distinguished her from other giants in our field was that air of spontaneity, creativity, willingness to try just about anything, no matter how crazy it sounded. So that's the approach I've endeavored to take in my own practice. And I've even tried to pass that along when I've supervised students myself. And although she was taken from us too soon, as everyone has said, Dr. Wang had a profound influence on an exponential number of lives as an educator, clinician, and person. And I'm honored that I get to continue that legacy of training the next generation. So myself and then everyone that comes after me. And I know many of her students have gotten to do the same thing. Thank you.
Thank you, Catherine. Next is Ching Zhang on Zoom. I hope I pronounced it correctly.
Yes.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Hello, everyone. My name is Xin Zheng, and I was Emily's college mate, or roommates to be exactly. We were the first group of students entering universities after the end of the 10-year Cultural Revolution in China. The class of 1977, even though we didn't start school until March 1978. We were very proud that we studied hard and we did serious learning discussions and attending lectures. We had a crazy time doing so. We didn't want to waste any minute or miss any chance to study. At the same time, we also had fun every time we got a chance to go outing, to visit the places, and to do the sightseeing, to enjoy the parks in Changsha, Hunan, and to see the famous Yellow River in Kaifeng. This is in Kaifeng, and here we have Emily here. And the background is the famous Yellow River. And we also went to see the beautiful blooming of peony flowers in Luoyang, Kaifeng in May, and Longmen grottos and Shaolin temples, also in Henan. Emily had a hand in planning and organizing those fun activities, as she was in the leadership positions in our class. As roommates, at one time, Emily and I each took the upper level of the bunk beds and arranged our beds so that we put pillows against each other, and we had nightly chat in a harsh voice while other girls were fast sleeping, or we believe they are sleeping. And we exchanged our innermost thoughts, including fears, nervousness, doubts, and confusions about our first experience with dating. Although those dating experiences are short-lived, and we had served each other as cheerleaders to each other. We had each other's backs. And upon graduation, we took a northeast-bound trip together to visit Beijing, Tianjin, and to see the sea in Qinhuangdao in Beidaihe, while our other classmates went northwestbound to Xi'an City. That is in Beijing and Qinhuangdao. I think that's a Beidaihe somewhere. Beijing again. And this is in Changsha. And the friendship we forged during the university days put us together in a social convoy. One social convoy is the core set of supportive relationships, close friends and family that move with you throughout life. Emily and I never met again after we both came to the United States for graduate studies. However, our contact was always a phone call away. In April 2001, after I did a on-campus visit in Wells College and the Jersey City University, I stopped at the Chicago O'Hara Airport and I used the payphone to call Emily. And she said due to a snow day that day, she stayed at home and didn't go to work. So it's hard to meet, even though we are very close at the time physically. And when I need a pair of hearing aids for my late mother in 2005, I contacted her for her expertise, and she advised me on which brands and which features to look for. And when she had questions about a rebellious teenager, she called me and I ask her to take it easy as it's a normal need for an adolescent to gain independence. I teach developmental psychology courses. An average American's life expectancy is 81 for females and 76 for males. Emily should have lived to be in her 80s at least, or more, perhaps 90s or 100. But sadly, her life was cut short. It is unbelievable and tragic. We lost her. And we also lost part of ourselves, the part of our life that included her. In the journey of life we shared, Emily took off the train of life a few stations ahead of us. She lived a full life, an enjoyable life, and a successful life, and a life full of love and achievements and friendship, and that is what counts, and that is what matters. If there is a next life, if we could meet again in next life, I believe we would continue our friendship when we meet again. Rest in peace, Emily. My condolences to Adam and Nita. Thank you.
Thank you so much for sharing these photos, very precious. Freddie, are you there?
I'm here on Zoom. Can you hear me?
Yep.
Well, after Ching Zhang
Yep.
and Adam, I've probably known Emily, but I knew her as Chi first, longer than anyone here. And many of you have talked about her as their teacher and research guider. I was blessed to know her when she was a graduate student, as she was finishing her master's degree in speech language pathology and working on her master's in linguistics and then her doctorate in linguistics, University of Connecticut and Yale, when she was at Haskins Laboratories as a research assistant, and I was blessed to have her as my research assistant for several years until she finished her thesis and was no longer a qualified research assistant and went off to Rush. And I will, one comment about her research, she didn't care if her research colleagues might have been distressed when she demonstrated that deep brain stimulation didn't always help speech, sometimes it made it worse. And I remember her saying it was hard for her to point out to them that that is exactly what the data said, but they had to accept it because of her ability to design research so that you got the answer to the question you were asking and not just some other question. I'm sure some of us have had the experience where you ask someone about their research and you learn about something unrelated. But what I really want to talk about is Chi as a friend. She became Emily when she became a citizen, in part because it was easier, but also that was the first name of the wife of the family that were her host family when she came to the University of Connecticut, Ignatius and Emily Mattingly. And I always thought that was such a beautiful thing for her to take Emily's name, because Emily was like her mother here. And we got to know each other. We would have dinner together in New Haven. Sometimes she came down to New York. I live in New York. And then in 2012, I was diagnosed with breast cancer. And by this time, she'd been at Rush for quite a while. And after the surgery, after the mastectomy, I was given a course of 4 infusion sessions at 3-week intervals of adriamycin and Cytoxan. Nasty drugs. And I went in for the infusions on Thursday, beginning at 8 a.m. and getting out of there between 1 and 2. And then again on Friday, when I was given medications to help blood count, and all of that, and hydration. And they did tell me I should have someone bringing me and someone who could go and get food. So the first session, a dear friend from church said, there was no time to make any arrangements. No, she would bring me. And another friend who lives in New Jersey, I don't know what time she left New Jersey to be in New York to pick me up in time to be there at 8 o'clock. I never asked her. And then she stayed over and left on Friday after the Friday session. And my sister was going to come for the 3rd session, except that I kept getting these phone calls in which by then I was almost always able to say Emily and not she. It took me years to be able to say Emily naturally. Would insist that she was coming to New York to help me. And so I told my sister, because Emily had classes the very end of January, but in the first session in January, Emily was free, that my sister had to change her arrangements coming from Texas. She understood. When you have a friend who says, I live in Chicago, I'm coming to take you to 2 sessions, one that is most of Thursday, the other is a piece of Friday morning. How could you not understand, and how, as her friend, not be overwhelmed? And she arrived Wednesday. Just before dinner, I had managed to arrange to have some food for us. And then Thursday morning, she took me. She went out and got our lunch. She came back. And when we left there, we went grocery shopping at the Asian market so she could buy food to cook that night and leave me with enough food, probably for the rest of the year. You all know about Chi and Emily and food. And Friday morning, we got up and she took me with the medication and the hydration. And then she brought me home, and then she gave me a hug, and she went out to the rental car and drove back to Westchester County Airport to go back to Chicago. I have had many people who ask me, who was it who took you that time? And most of them couldn't believe that anybody would do that. He said, that's because you didn't know her. She was always present in every form in which you could ever want someone present. She was giving and loving and caring and helping and always getting what your problem was and helping you to try to find a solution. Adam and Neil, I do not understand how you can stand the pain, because I don't know how I can. And when Yan, known to me as Helen, in this case, the English name comes to me first because that's how she told me to address her at the beginning. When she called, because Adam had called her to tell her about the dreadful, dreadful day, I couldn't imagine it. And I still can't. I'm still waiting to come home for the phone message that says, call me, I want to talk about whatever. Travels or Neil's dancing. She didn't talk to me so much about his academic accomplishments, but his ballroom dancing. Figured, how many of you have seen the videos? I have a history of videos of Niels ballroom dancing. And I have photos of him growing up because she would always send me pictures. Emily, I know where you are. And I know that you are resting, but worrying about the rest of us. Please rest in peace and know that we will one day again see you. Thank you.
Thank you, Freddie. Thank you, everybody who shared their memories of Emily. It's a lot. And now we, as you have heard, we can talk about many things that when it comes to Emily's legacy, but one project that was very near and dear to her heart was the Scope Clinic that she made happen against all odds. So this is the tribute to her that we hope and will preserve. And I'll ask Dr. Worthington to say a few words about that.
Thank you. My name is Megan Worthington, and I'm an assistant professor here at Rush, and I'm the audiology coordinator of the Scope Clinic. I had the honor of working with Emily for the past 7 years. I met Emily about 20 years ago when I started my AUD here at Rush, but I really didn't get to know her until I was hired as faculty in 2017. Emily was such a wonderful department chair and boss, but her motto was always family comes first. As a working mother of 3 kids with medical complexities, it was a relief knowing that my boss understood that sometimes I had to abruptly stop working and tend to my kids' health issues. Emily and I were colleagues, friends, and connected as working mothers of kids with asthma and all the struggles and worries that came along with that. I felt so comforted that someone else knew what I was going through and could lend me that kind of support. I remember early on when I was first hired at Rush, one of my kids was hospitalized. I remember thinking what terrible timing it was, and I was pretty worried about my job since I was pretty new here at Rush, and I really didn't have much time off banked yet. Emily was really quick to reassure me that I should not worry at all about work and pay my full attention to my sick daughter. She was always the first to remind me that work is just work, and your family should always come first. Now, this might seem kind of funny, coming from somebody like Emily who worked day and night. We would often laugh as colleagues when we would receive emails from Emily. They were often time-stamped at 2:31 a.m. or 4:52 a.m. Emily worked so hard she never really stopped. I'm pretty sure she thought sleep and rest were optional, or maybe even a burden to her daily agenda and goals. When Emily set her mind to finishing a task or getting something done, she wouldn't stop until it was done and done right. She was a bulldog in the best sense of the word. Emily would not take no for an answer when she had a goal she wanted to accomplish, a person or patient she wanted to help, or an idea that she wanted to see come to fruition. One of Emily's most recent wonderful and big ideas was the Scope Clinic that many have talked about today. Emily saw the need to have additional clinical placements for our students, along with a strong desire to help the community around us and help patients that had barriers to receiving speech and hearing care. Emily's idea for the Scope Speech and Hearing Clinic was ingenious. The clinic would provide clinical placements for students while serving our community and creating a hub for outreach efforts, again aimed at helping those in need, while creating those clinicians with conscience. She envisioned it as a place that would be her legacy long after she retired. I am lucky that I get to see patients in the Scope Clinic 1 day a week, and I know that I can speak for all of my colleagues in speech pathology and audiology when I say that we each have countless stories of the people that we've been able to help in the Scope Clinic. We've helped underserved patients with no insurance. We've helped people who were dismissed by other providers. We've helped people on year-long wait lists who would have never gotten services, people who've fallen through the cracks. We've identified disorders and diagnoses that were overlooked by other professionals. We've provided hearing aids to people with hearing loss that had no means to get them otherwise. We've held hands of mothers and caregivers through difficult times, managing this complex healthcare system while also dealing with their own children with medical issues. We've helped the homeless and the unhoused by providing free services in the Scope Clinic to those in shelters. And we've seen the joy on so many faces when they found out that we could help them when no one else could. The number of people who have been touched by the Scope Speech and Hearing Clinic and the number of people it will help in the future is endless. I know in my heart that Emily would be so happy to know that her legacy not only lives on in the hearts of all of her colleagues here at Rush every day as we carry out this work, but also in the heart of all the patients and families whose lives she's touched because of her big idea. Thank you.
Dr. Turner.
Hi, my name is Jason Turner. I'm serving as the interim dean of the college. I've known Emily since I got here, so 6 years. Today I'm filled with a profound sense of gratitude for having known someone as dedicated and compassionate and as inspiring as Emily. She was not only a brilliant clinician and educator, but also an unwavering champion for her students, for her programs, and for her faculty. She was always looking to advance the interests of those around her, always. In her role with the program, Dr. Wang was a visionary. She worked tirelessly to enhance the curriculum, ensuring it was rigorous and comprehensive and always evolving to meet the changing needs of the field. She was a tireless advocate for healthcare, and her clinical work touched the lives of individuals and families. She provided hope and healing. Dr. Wang's contributions to our community are immeasurable, and her absence leaves a significant void. Yet, as we mourn her loss, we also celebrate her incredible life. Emily's spirit will continue to live on with the countless lives that she's touched, the students that she's inspired, and the legacy of compassion and dedication that she leaves behind. In remembering Dr. Emily Wang, we are reminded of the power of one person to make a profound difference in the world. Her life was a testament to the impact of dedication, empathy, and a relentless pursuit of excellence. Let us honor her memory by carrying forward the values she embodied, by striving to make a difference in our own ways, and by continuing the work she was so passionate about. So I've talked a lot with Emily, and the conversation kind of fell in buckets. So the first bucket was family. She was very proud of her family. The second bucket was around her students and the programs. And the third was the clinic that she worked so hard to establish. And so as a measure of her impact, we are renaming the clinic. And we're going to rename it. There we go. The Dr. Emily Q. Wang Scope Clinic.
Thank you, Dr. Turner. This was a beautiful reminder about how one person can make a difference and do so much. And thank you to everybody who shared their memories and reminded us what an unstoppable force for good Emily was, and how she touched the lives of so many, her friends, her family, obviously, her colleagues, her patients, her students. Her patients, I know, came from Europe, from Africa. She had an African prince once, right, who came specifically to see her. And then the king called her to thank for the job that she did. So, and every time she would just tell a new story. It would be just as amazing. And I really thought at some point I should like have a notebook and just go behind her. Well, I should have done that. So we all have the task of keeping her legacy alive and keeping all the good that she had and she instilled in all of us and that she shared with us. And one thing that I realized listening to everybody, and of course I knew that before, is that, you know, when we talk with our students about setting boundaries, so, I mean, she could respect other people's boundaries, sometimes somewhat reluctantly, but she would. But there was really no boundary as it came to her giving, you know. What she gave really had no boundaries. And that's one thing that really all of us share, that we got to know that person, that very special person. So we're closing this event. Of course, it can also go on forever, and it will go on in some ways in our hearts, in our minds, as we remember things that she said, she did, and so on. But we have our first year student, audiology student, Ellen Kuzemka, who was playing the guitar earlier as everybody came in. Once she knew we were organizing this event, she volunteered and she said, "Can I play?" And so there is one song that I asked Adam, is there a song? Well, actually, Ellie asked me. She said, I can play, but is there a particular song that Emily would like? And I asked Adam, and Adam said, well, she really likes Secret Garden. So Ellie went and found the sheet music and practiced, and so she's warming up her saxophone, and she's going to come and play the song for us. you so much, Ellie. This was beautiful. Um, Thank you to everybody for coming here and sharing this very special moment of remembering Emily. Thank you to Nia, our program manager, who helped organize this and turn this academic space into this beautiful arrangement. Thank you to all the faculty members who came in to help, and to you all. So with that, please stay back, chat. There is more food, and share your memories. Thank you.